Oh yes, for you to win big, it needs to be 1,400 for purple Gatorade. Orange is 400, blue is 400, red/pink 300, clear/water 300, lime green or yellow 275.
So how the hell did they come up with those odds?
Dude, I don't know. I really don't. That's like.
Why wouldn't you just take purple if it's all random? I guess if they're going by like what it's been. I guess you could like look back maybe at some of the games.
Let's do that. Let's get really in depth with what we're gonna do. Let's try to win big.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Analytically Correct. We're here at Public House and Shamrock Liquors on University. Stretch, Rob, and myself. We're gonna get into this week mostly just the last two the conference championship games, and then a little bit into the Super Bowl. We were just talking next week we might do more in depth as far as Super Bowl props and stuff like that, all that kind of fun stuff. But I did want to talk at least a little bit about the Titans and the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do a lot of talk, I'm sure, this week and next week about Chiefs and 49ers. But just going back to the games first, the Titans-Chiefs game, I really thought, and it was Chiefs 35-24, so I mean they kept it relatively close. At one point the Titans are up 10 points. So what were your basic takeaways from that game? When I put a message, I think, in the group chat that Tennessee is not going to be just as easy to come back against as Houston was, as far as like their defense and everything.
Yeah.
And Kansas City did come back and win, but what were your takeaways from that game?
I mean, when I look at that in the Kansas City game, it was more of a. Sorry, it was more of a the fact that you're looking at it, they're going to get a nice start to the lead, but it's like at some point Tennessee's going to start throwing the ball. No matter what they thought they were doing, how well they were doing it offensively, it's just the fact that when you have a team like Kansas City who can go down the field in 3-4 plays and score, running the ball is not going to always work in your favor, especially if you get field goals on these drives. Like if they have been up 14-0, running the ball can still work, because now you're showing, okay, 2 big drives, 2 long drives, you have 2 touchdowns. It's the worst thing you can have is a long drive ending in a field goal, or no points, obviously. But like field goals don't win you games. They'll keep you in, but they're not going to win them for you. And you saw that in the second half. But you saw in the message board, I thought it was going to be Kansas City win by 14. I really thought that'd be a game that can come out and just go out there and full on take on them, just because of the fact that at some point you're going to be overpowered when Ryan Tannehill is your quarterback. Like there's no knock on Tannehill. I was a fan of Tannehill starting over Mariota, but I'm not a fan of Tannehill winning a Super Bowl. Like I'm not a fan of him going to a Super Bowl. Like when people were at the game, or at the bar when I was working in social, like they were upset Kansas City was in it. I'm like, why? Why do you want to watch Ryan Tannehill? And when they're not even Titan fans.
Everybody complained last year about the boring Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And if you have Kansas City in the Super Bowl, it can be anything besides boring.
And and you're gonna have this Super Bowl is one of the ones I'm looking forward to the most in recent years, just because of the fact that 2 great head coaches, 2 very good quarterbacks. Two very good quarterback ran teams that. Obviously I think Mahomes is light years ahead, but Garoppolo's done a great job this year with running with the group.
Did pretty much what they asked him to do.
Yes.
And we'll get more into that game later, but they pretty much won without. I mean, everybody wants to. It's always funny to say Jimmy Garoppolo was 6 of 8. He only attempted 8 passes. And to me, instead of laughing at that, it's kind of more impressive that they were able to win without their best offensive player, George Kittle. So I don't think it's in the way that Tannehill just was kind of managing the game and Derrick Henry was just running wild. I think once they saw what Mostert was doing and he was having a special kind of game, they just were like, okay, if we don't have to pass them, we're not going to.
We're just going to run right through them. And
that's fine.
And that's the thing. When a team like Green Bay, who's bad against the run, that was kind of their worst matchup they could have seen in the NFC at that point, was seeing a team who is great with running the ball. When you're watching the Tennessee game, though, I think one thing that a lot of people are kind of killing Tennessee on is, well, they didn't run the ball on the second half, but I'm like, because it was just going to come to a point to where you can only run the ball so long. I get people are saying what they did against Baltimore, but it's like I said this on here, Mahomes is a better offensive. He's just a better quarterback, and there's no knock against any quarterback. Because whenever if I say he's better than Lamar, it's not like I'm throwing Lamar at 10. I'm throwing him at 2 this year. He was 2. But my difference in 1 and 2, there is a separation between 1 and 2, because the fact that you said Mahomes was he's unbelievably athletic too.
Right.
The way he was running around, slicing through the defense with his running for a touchdown, he was going through on that great defense, and he was just going all over them. There was times where Kansas City, their defense fell short of a couple of interceptions off just flat out dropping. They could have won that game by a lot more. Their defense had some miscues here and there, but their defense as a whole, they did what they said they're going to do, and that was to stop Derrick Henry. Frank Clark did a great job, like I said, with backing up his words on it. There were guys all over that defense that they knew what they were going to single in on. And it's not like it's new to single in on Derrick Henry, because Baltimore, Earl Thomas spoke out against him. Van Noy said we're going to come out and we're going to be the we're going to be the boogeyman against Tennessee. It's coming back. These are two past defenses that couldn't do it. Kansas City found a way to do it, and if their defense can stick the way they're doing against against the run, they're going to have a really good time in the Super Bowl. The Packers game, I was more shocked about, on not only that they lost. I get they lost in the year. But you know how Aaron is. He'll speak about prior losses that mean a lot to him.
Right.
Him being from the San Francisco area, never winning in San Francisco, this was a kind of a thing that I thought, okay, this is going to be his big game to come in. He's a game away from the Super Bowl. This is big motivation for him. He was out to prove people wrong this year because the past 2 years, and they just looked horrendous. Like they made the analytics out there about how they're the worst 13-3 team. They were this and that all year, and they were, they got lucky in a lot of games. But it's like when you watch them that game, it just looked like they didn't belong there at all.
I think, and to get into the Aaron Rodgers side of it, I was listening to the Dan Le Batard show today, and they were talking about Aaron Rodgers has 8 losses in the playoffs. And that sounds bad, but when you go back and look at it, all of them, the defense allowed 37 or more points. And you're like, okay, if you're a great quarterback, you can overcome that. But at some point, you judge a guy like Aaron Rodgers on only having 1 Super Bowl, and it's funny to only say only 1, but at this point it feels like he should have more. But I think looking at all the stats of what the defense has given up, it was pretty much the defense that lost this game. I know he had the fumble and he had a couple of picks and stuff, but when it gets to where they know you're throwing it and you can't run the ball anymore, I mean, it was a 17-point loss, and it felt like more than that.
Oh yeah, it was hard to watch.
It's the worst way to lose, especially if you're a fan of that team.
Yeah.
To where they're just running it at you and you just can't stop it. It happens a lot more in college, I feel like, than the NFL, when one team just has better athletes or even a better scheme.
Yeah.
And you're just getting it. They're getting first down runs on first down, on second down. It's not even getting to third down.
7-yard runs on a first down.
Yeah, 7-yard run, 10-yard run, 35-yard run, and then it's just like you have to stop that before you force them to do anything else. And when you can't, it's just, in my opinion, like the worst way to lose.
When you watch this offense play the Green Bay, it was just like and I understand where they were going on, and I understand how they were and this. Of course, it sounds bad. I mean, backing up McCarthy, obviously now that he's coaching my guys, but it's just more the fact that you look at they said the offense looked bland and the offense didn't look like it was going to be wasn't the issue. You're looking at it right now, the offense did look bland, and it looked like it was an issue when it came against San Francisco. I get San Francisco's got a very good defense, but the praise of Aaron Rodgers is that there's people who will argue he's better than Tom Brady. But this is where I get upset on this argument consistently, because it's he's never really shown it. He does in the regular season with his QBR and his touchdown interception ratio. But Skip Bayless made a point 2 years ago that now it's coming to light with people that he will purposely not test the waters on throwing a ball and just throw it away.
Yeah.
And it's stat padding to a sense.
This year more than any other, I think he's been a little bit more conservative in throwing it away and not. Last
year he was tripling, 3 quarterbacks in his division in throwaways. All 3 quarterbacks in his division just in throwaways, let alone the NFL. So it's this is the thing he does. It's almost like he's not going to measure up in rings, my friend. My friend Sean says he won't measure up in rings. But when you have a QBR, we're in a stat-driven society now, there's going to be another argument for him, and he almost knows it by the way he's playing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some of that stuff, we'll never know what he's actually thinking about that. But I think it's more of a good sign that it's his first year in this new offense, and they went 13-3 and made it this far to the conference championship and lost to a team that I think a majority of people are going to be picking to win the Super Bowl. Maybe not a majority, but at least
they'll be within the top 5 of favorites.
It's a pretty close pick.
13 wins, Aaron Rodgers coming in the next season, definitely.
So I mean, when you do that under the first season, he's only going to get better in understanding the offense, and then they say that's when you talk about Tom Brady, one of his biggest advantages is he's been in the same system for so long that he can go back at halftime and say, hey, you remember that play we ran 4 years ago against this team? He's smart enough that he can remember it, and they can just put it in at halftime. So the more you stick with the same, that's why when you talk about teams like the Browns and other franchises that are consistently starting over,
especially young quarterbacks,
it almost is like when you start over like that, you're just giving up a year. Because nobody would have he would have got criticized, but with a rookie head coach and in a new system, if they wouldn't have even made the playoffs this year, I don't think people would have been losing their minds about it. They would have said first year in the system. So I think overall for Green Bay's season, I mean, it's not in this point, when you look at it, if you're a Packers fan, you're going to be upset you're not in the Super Bowl, especially when you're that close.
It's not a failed season, though, by any means.
But they'll go into next season, and they'll be one of the favorites to win the division, and they'll probably go to the playoffs, and it'll be the second season, like I said, if they could still run the ball like they did this year, maybe get like a little bit more athletic on defense. But like you said, at some point, it was just they weren't good enough to stop the run. And that was with only Raheem Mostert. That was not even having Tevin Coleman or Matt Breida do much of anything at all.
Mostert, man, just watching the way he was playing. I remember watching him play last year, ending the season early with a broken forearm.
Yeah.
But the guy he's an explosive runner. He's a great runner in that system. It's like, when you look, it's like, because people love Matt Breida. People do like him, and in that, especially in the fantasy aspect, people look at him and think there's a lot in him. But Mostert, man, he can do it all on that offense with them. And there's just so many different aspects. I'm glad to see it's Andy Reid and Shanahan. I always like Shanahan more as the offensive mind than McVay comparing it to. Just because, I get that Shanahan, in Atlanta, he had a lot of great weapons.
Right.
San Francisco, his weapons aren't what they were in LA last year with Brandon Cooks, and Robert Woods, Todd Gurley. There's I'm not taking it away from Emmanuel and Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle, but I'm just saying in general, there's a better offense last year on that side, and I think Shanahan's coming in with a lot to prove. Last time I was in the Super Bowl as a coordinator, historic collapse.
Right.
Andy Reid,
which you can't blame him for that collapse.
No.
I mean, he's the reason they were up in the first place. And speaking about his days in Atlanta, and that we're talking about the Super Bowl, and look at what Atlanta's done since then without him.
8-8.
Even when he was in Cleveland, that offense, I think it was 2014 or 2015, the offense was actually pretty decent. So going back for his whole career, you can say whatever weapons you put with him, it's going to get better.
Yes, he's gonna make do with what he has, and it's gonna be better than what you could have had.
Yeah, and as good as they've been at running the ball all season, it hasn't been like yesterday, on Sunday when they just ran it the entire game. You know? It's kind of like and that's the sign of a good team is if you need them to run it the whole game to win, they can do that. If it would have been Green Bay not being able to stop the tight end, then Kittle would have had 200 yards. If it would have been not being able to stop it, whatever it is, and I think that's why when we get into talking more about the Super Bowl, I'm leaning a little bit more towards the 49ers in the sense that I think the only reason people will be picking the Chiefs is they don't want to bet against Mahomes. And that's a good reason. That's as good a reason as any to pick a team. But I think we see this all the time when one team gets a little bit overrated because of one player. And if it's going to be anybody, it'll be Patrick Mahomes. But then we see a complete team like the Niners who has Garoppolo, who's not a big name quarterback or anything like that. He's never been a top 5, maybe even top 10 quarterback. I think it'll be interesting to see how the money goes back and forth with that. And because I would think I would want to pick the Niners, but I don't want to pick against Mahomes.
Not just against Mahomes, but this is Andy Reid's possible. This could be one of his last chances to get his career's. He's older. He's been coaching for a while. We don't know how many more he will be. I mean, Shanahan's gonna be coaching for another 10 years, easily. I feel like another 10 years. Just because his resume that he's put in so far is gonna keep him at least circulating the jobs. Even if his next year or two are horrendous. But Andy, it's almost going to come down to, I'd be shocked if Andy sleeps more than 2 hours these next 2 weeks, just because he's probably so zoned in on this. The last time he was in a Super Bowl, McNabb was his quarterback. And I don't think Mahomes is going to throw up before the game or during the game. So I think Mahomes is going to be ready for the moment. And he's going to understand that, hey, this is, when you watch how confident he is, you don't think this is his second year second year starting.
Right.
He's been 3 years, second year starting. It just doesn't give you that, his confidence is, his confidence is different than other quarterbacks in the NFL right now as a whole. And it's been that way almost since he's entered as a starting quarterback. It hasn't been people say, oh, he still does this, carelessly sometimes. It's yeah, but it's just because he's so confident in his ability to do it. It will bite you in the ass. But, like we pointed with Aaron, you got to, sometimes let something bite you in the ass. Sometimes you have to throw an interception. Sometimes you have to press the situation.
It's almost like Steph Curry, where he's just taking a 3 because he's bored in the NBA playing an NBA game.
Yeah.
So he just chucks up a 3 to see if he can make it. And it's the same thing that Mahomes does sometimes with there was one play they pointed out this season where he's rolling out right. He sees a hold against one of his offensive linemen.
Yeah.
He looks back at the ref and shrugs his shoulders why was there no call? And then turns around and throws it 40 yards downfield. And the announcers are just going crazy about it like that. He has the presence of mind to complain about a call during a play and then turn around and throw a 40-yard completion.
Yeah.
He's the game is just moving that slow for him. And then the play that I'll remember from the conference championship game of all the throws he had, but was that run?
Yeah.
When he looks like he's gonna get stopped, and you don't think about he's a good enough runner. We talked about it last week before the games, but you don't think about that's a Lamar Jackson type of play. And it's almost like he's like, okay, yeah, Lamar Jackson's gone. Now look what I can do. Another insane stat that I heard today that I don't even know how this is possible, but Mahomes and Peyton Manning ran the same 40 time at the combine.
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
And that's the thing. It's like, you know, and everyone's talking about, like, that's what I hate, like, when 40 times get brought up, especially in certain positions like quarterback, because, you know, you can have.
It's just it's not to put a ton of stock into it. It's just like how they don't look the same.
No, it's just watching the way, like I said, just watching Mahomes play. We are, I think, starting to witness the start of arguably the next. And I know people are like crazy when you say this because he hasn't accomplished much yet, but like, when you watch him, there's just a different feeling you have watching him than other quarterbacks I've ever watched in my life. And like, you know, Brady had that special thing when I was younger, so I was like, you know, I like Brady over Manning growing up. I was just like, you know, he wins. It's just something about him. He can just go out there and win no matter the situation, you know. But you watch Mahomes, and it's like, there's never been a time where, and I understand it's a young career, there's never been a time where we looked at it and said, oh, he could do, like, he's going to get, he struggles here. Like, there's not any of that real thing because he doesn't throw a lot of picks.
Yeah.
He's not fumbling. He's got great pocket awareness. He can throw any throw. His throws that are carelessly thrown balls are still some of the better thrown balls by any other quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, we were talking a lot about it over the weekend with like people who I was with, and we were talking about how instead of like with his mobility, instead of rolling left or right, he'll just like continue to drift back in the pocket and just use his art and just let you come and come. And it's almost like a Madden type of play, where you're just like running around and then you can just use your arm strength to overcome it. Throw it 60 yards. It might only be like a 30-yard completion just because of how far you rolled back. But just to have that ability, and then I don't know, with the whole game, it's just I think the Titans and the Packers both kind of overachieved this season. Like if you told the Titans you're going to start this season with Mariota as your quarterback, you're going to like most
start 2-5.
Most teams who switch their quarterback in the middle of the season like that. I mean, I guess it happened last year with Lamar Jackson, but that was I think due to injury, or was Flacco just terrible?
Flacco had injury and also came into the point they're just kind of pushing him through now.
That was even later in the season, but I think when you started the season with Mariota, like trading for Tannehill pretty much saved their season. And then going into the season, if you told them you would have gone to the conference championship game and beat ahead 10 points during the first half. I mean, at some point, that's another impressive thing about Kansas City is if they don't let these teams, you can either look at it as impressive or you could worry about the defense. Like, is there going to be a time when they're not able to come back?
Yes.
So far, it doesn't look like there's a deficit they can't overcome. But it's also not good that you keep falling behind by double digits in these games. And I said it after the Houston game when they're playing Tennessee, that Tennessee's not Houston, and I'll say it again now, San Francisco is not Houston or Tennessee.
They're not.
San Francisco's defensive line is one of the best in like recent memory, like maybe going back to those Giants teams.
Yeah.
And Garoppolo is not Eli Manning of those years, where it's just he could, but I mean, what I'm basically trying to say in like a long-winded way is that this is going to be the hardest team they've faced in the last couple of weeks. And if you give them a 10-point lead, it might not be as easy to come back.
And that's the thing, like they when you're seeing the teams they had to play, Houston's definitely not a team that I thought was a big threat to them, but Tennessee has their similarities to San Francisco. San Francisco is better, but defensively, very sound team in Tennessee. Very good, very great playing defense. They may not have the names or sitting out left and right, but they do play very well on the defensive side, and they run the ball very well. So it's not that I think that it's not that I think that the Niners. I don't think the Niners are going to win this game. I am going Kansas City hard on this one, but I do think it's going to be a 3-4 point game. I think it's going to be a very close game. But I also look at when you compare these teams, like the big question mark for the Niners is their quarterback, and that's a question mark that you don't like going into a Super Bowl is the quarterback. You know what I mean? I think the last time we saw that was probably Philadelphia, but it worked out well for them. Rarely does that ever work out when you're question marking the quarterback.
Right.
Will you win the game? And that shows how good their defense really will be all time.
I don't think Garoppolo's even been necessarily that bad. I think it's just when you put a spotlight on the comparison against him and Mahomes, I think it's going to be that people think San Francisco has an overall better team, but you don't want to bet against Mahomes. It's almost like when to keep comparing Mahomes to these guys like LeBron and Steph Curry, but it's almost like LeBron doesn't have the better team when he's going against the Warriors, but you don't want to bet against him because he's LeBron.
But it's also like when you look at the Niners team up and down, okay, you're going to go through each position. It's like, okay, they run the ball fantastic. Very good offensive line, protects everyone. Defensive line, one of the best in the NFL, if not the best in the NFL. Linebacking core, Quan Alexander's a great. Now that he's back, he's playing phenomenal. Their secondary is great. It just kind of looks like, okay, so who are we going to look at that's going to be the weakest link on the team? And it's It's the problem is Garoppolo's on a very, very good team. So he is I think, just the weakest link on that team because of everything else that's on the team. It's nothing, no shot at him, no knock on him. It's just more of, this is the team. You just happen to be the weakest link of your team.
Yeah, we would have been saying the same thing if the Patriots made it. That Tom Brady at this point is not the best player on that team, and I don't think to that comparison that he's in the Rex Grossman category of things.
Oh.
I'm not sure if this 49ers defense is as good as those Bears defenses.
Lance Briggs, Tanks Johnson,
Urlacher,
Tillman,
and I don't think he's on that level. I think he can actually, if he had to win a game, I think he could win a game for you, especially with all the supporting cast around him. It's not like he has. If you put him with Tom Brady's weapons, I would probably still take Tom Brady. But you do have. We're talking about this offense like it doesn't have weapons in George Kittle.
Yeah, exactly.
Deebo Samuel. This has to be like one of the best rookie receiver seasons. I haven't looked it up, but in a long time.
Trent Dilfer, the ultimate.
No, that Trent Dilfer's the ultimate. And then
he is.
Another thing they were talking about today is Peyton Manning could be the greatest quarterback to win a Super Bowl and the worst quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl. And
that year he was really bad. It was like a 9 to 18 touchdown interception ratio.
9 and 17, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It was Brad Johnson actually had a decent year that year, though.
I'd have to look up the Trent Dilfer.
That was actually a decent year for him.
You have to look up the Trent Dilfer numbers, but what was
Dilfer numbers are ugly.
What were Garoppolo's numbers this year? I don't know as far as
Goff was like, man, and you have to find these. Goff was like being talked as an MVP a year ago, and this year it's like, what the hell happened, man?
Talk about a team that took like a fast downturn. I mean, now you have the Goff questions, and they already paid him, which they didn't have to do.
Man, yeah.
And then you talk about Todd Gurley. He's not
paid him.
He's not. Yeah.
Brandon Cooks paid him. Like, you got to pay Ramsey because you gave up so much for him.
And he knows it now
you got to do something with Fowler because you gave up so much for him as well. Like, there's just that's a franchise that's either gonna be really good or really, really rough here in the next couple of years.
But yeah, getting into like a couple of the numbers as far as the Super Bowl goes, one of the things, and I think we don't have to do like official picks or anything. I mean, it's 2 weeks away. We can think about it. But I think it's going to come down to team versus single player in the Niners against Mahomes. And if you look at some of like the advanced numbers, I think Kansas City, I looked it up, against the run is like 29th ranked defense. So that doesn't really bode well. I don't know where Green Bay is.
But in the playoffs, they have shown, like I was telling Stretch, I'm like, Spagnuolo's got this thing to where he can get defenses to play and he knows this more than anyone else. That's a Giants fan. His defenses do come together at the right time, and they've looked phenomenal last season, the last 3 weeks of last season.
Yeah, this only
up until now,
and this only accounts for regular season.
Yeah.
So Green Bay was 23rd. We just saw what happened to them, and Kansas City is 29th. And then if you look at San Francisco's defense, they're like in the top 5 against passing. So it really, I think, is coming down to San Francisco's the better team. But I think a lot of people are not going to want to bet against Patrick Mahomes.
And it's also different when you're looking against passing. Okay, well, how many of those let's look at the quarterbacks in the division. Russell's probably the better quarterback in the division, but he's still not better than Mahomes. Like, that's the thing, like we're saying right there. Like, Mahomes is now seeing a defense he hasn't really seen all year, and this defense is seeing a quarterback they haven't seen all year either, in a sense of that aspect. You know what I mean?
DVOA though does account for like it weights the numbers whether you're playing against Jared Goff, for instance, or if you're playing against like Patrick Mahomes. So I mean that's just like things to look at as far as that game goes. We'll do like some Super Bowl props and everything this next week. Did you want to get into NBA at all? Well, we'll start transitioning more into NBA, especially once the Super Bowl is over.
Especially trade rumors kicking in the next couple of weeks of the trade.
I get excited for it every year, and it usually never winds up mattering. But
well, it looks like you guys are going to be big-time sellers with Derrick Rose and Andre Drummond.
I would be ecstatic to get either one of the. Well, not Derrick Rose, because he's actually playing pretty decent.
Yeah,
but
I know. You see, that's what I hate about this era's NBA. It's like guys that are like no longer what they were and now look like what they once were. And it's no knock on Rose, he's playing better. But it's just an establishment where the offensive game is in the NBA. Like, there's really no true defense anymore like there was before. Like, even I'm not dating back to the 80s, 90s. I'm dating back to just 10 years ago with just guys just allowing space in between shots, going for rebounds. You are going for more uncontested stats now than there ever has been before.
One of the things that I hate is when, and I'm probably guilty of it myself, but when somebody gets posterized or someone tries to contest a dunk and they just get like dunked all over. It's funny at the time, but would you rather have a guy just like step out of the way or like stand in there and try and And Stretch is like, yeah, I don't know. I'd rather not get dunked on.
I mean, listen, if you're playing NBA, you're going to get dunked on. It's going to happen. You're playing football, you're going to get ran over.
Come on.
Yeah, you're playing baseball, you're going to strike. Things like that are going to happen. So for me, if I have a big man, maybe it's a little bit more old school, but I like a Jared Allen type of guy to where he's gonna take on the challenge because like I said, you block the big names, people are gonna put your highlights on just as many times they are gonna put your posterized on.
Yeah.
It works both favors.
Well, one of the most funny things to look up, instead of like people getting dunked on, instead of people getting dunked on, if you look up on YouTube missed dunks. Just like people going for crazy dunks and missing
Josh
them.
Smith's probably on like 6 of them.
JaVale McGee's on a bunch of them.
Yeah, Josh Smith and JaVale McGee, that's their highlight reel right there. Josh Smith will get the most aggressive missed dunks in the world.
Jimmy Butler, an MVP candidate.
What he's doing is freaking phenomenal, man. That Heat team's surprising. It's the biggest surprise team in the NBA. Like, I don't care if you're a Heat fan or not. Like, to say you're one of the best teams in the East, they have rookies that were like guys that nobody was really looking at.
Kendrick Nunn and Tyler Hero.
Yeah, these guys, the team as a whole is playing phenomenal. Spoelstra's proved his case, I think, for the past year or two, that he wasn't just a LeBron product of coaches that have been in love with LeBron, and that's why they still have a job. Fizdale, one of them. Well, doesn't have a job anymore, but sorry, that's right. But
and then that Chase was commenting about the Heat and everything. I think he and I were arguing this weekend about. He was saying that Giannis is better than Durant, and he was like criticizing the whole Durant move to Golden State. I just wanted to see what you had to think about that.
People who criticize that move also they're very they just look at the surface. Like when you look at that team without Durant, that team was not dominant without Durant at any aspect.
Right. I mean,
LeBron James would tell you that. Like I said, you don't win a championship and you're considered dominant. You lose a championship, you're not dominant. I don't care if you win 73 games.
Well, people forget too, and that everyone
you're not dominant. You don't win it, you're not dominant.
Everyone criticizes Durant for leaving, and I mean it's not like the coolest look in the world or like the best move, but like. It's not like he would have never had a chance to win ever again. It's kind of weird that he chose the team they lost to, but it went to 7 games. I mean, like, it's not like he was trash before he got there, and it's not like they were trash before he got there.
And we've also seen the Thunder culture since then. The Thunder culture has been a horrible culture. When it was just Russell Westbrook, it was not a good culture at all. People didn't want to play with Russ. People in the NBA don't necessarily like Russ. If you want me to point it out, look at every time he plays Damian Lillard. No matter if he's down 30 or whatever, he makes himself look like an idiot.
Stretch and I were talking about it, I think, a little bit before you got here, that OKC's actually been a lot better this year.
Yeah.
And they're running like 3 point guard sets.
Mm-hmm.
From Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think it's Schroeder and Chris Paul.
And Chris Paul's playing like very well with this group too.
I think through this point, from when they had Westbrook and George last year, they have a better record than when they had those guys. And it just it's kind of like a Ewing theory type of thing, which Stretch doesn't believe in. But it's almost like everybody else steps up in the wake of those guys. Yeah. And Chris Paul seems like he likes playing basketball again. But just to get back to his original question with Jimmy Butler, it depends how many people you want to go deep in the MVP conversation. And Le Batard always makes one of this.
I think he's top 5, but he's not top 3 in the top. But he's top 5, and Le Batard's going to blow anyone that plays for Miami that plays well.
No. His thing is that he hates this entire conversation.
Yeah.
When you say, is Jimmy Butler in the conversation? It's like, I mean, what does that mean? Like we can talk about it, but he's not going to win it.
Yeah.
It's impressive, and it's funny to see what's happening now in Philadelphia with everything Jimmy Butler seems to have said. It seems like he just wants to be with guys who want to win.
And now people don't want to be a Ben Simmons too.
He's with all these young guys now who don't know any better, like a Towns or a Wiggins, or don't know any better, like a Simmons or an Embiid. Who I'll just say
he doesn't have guys that were marketed out of the NBA like these guys were. They don't, Ben, Carl,
they're
Jimmy.
They're not like entitled. Like the kid, maybe they want to win.
Andrew Wiggins, yeah.
And he left, kind of forced his way out of Minnesota because he's like, these guys are losers. They don't want to win. And and then he says Ben Simmons only cares about like dating Instagram stars and this Kylie Jenner or Kendall Jenner, whichever one it is. And now maybe it winds up that it is true when you go down to Miami and they have like a winning Heat culture. Maybe all he wanted was teammates who wanted to win.
Well, there are talks right now, and consistent talks of rumors about what's going to happen with Ben Simmons and should the Warriors trade for him. Because I think the Warriors' big move they're going to look at possibly doing down the road is moving D'Angelo Russell over there, which Russell in Philadelphia, it would be something Philadelphia needs. Philadelphia they're missing that Jimmy Butler, they're missing that scorer, they're missing that dominant, they're willing. It's not that Embiid doesn't have it, but you're also not expecting Embiid to be like on the perimeter consistently, even though he does play over there. It's like D'Angelo Russell in Philadelphia meshes a lot better, I think, Ben Simmons does.
It would be a funny thing to come full circle from him being like the young guy on the Lakers to like, what the fuck are you doing exposing this guy for like cheating on his girlfriend or like Swaggy P or whatever with that, to him now all of a sudden being like the veteran leader in Philadelphia, trying to teach like Embiid and Simmons. But I think the thing is, like, you almost at this point have to say, can you keep playing Embiid and Simmons together?
And it's, I don't know, my thing with
Ewing theory. I'm telling you, it's a thing.
No, it's not.
Well, you just
But also, like, reverting, I mean, like I said, I don't mean to revert too far back, but it's like, when you look at Ben and just like what he does, it's almost like how long in the league now? He's 5 years in the league now?
something like that.
4 or 5 now in the league. It's like
maybe not, maybe like 4.
But his numbers are just like, when you're looking at it for a number one pick, it's just they're Draymond Green on the Warriors when the Warriors are healthy numbers. You know, it's 12, 10, and 11. Like, they're just numbers that you look at like, okay, this guy's not a dominant player like people are putting him out to be. Like, he hasn't been a dominant guy.
I kind of disagree. I think him and Embiid both would be better without each other on the same team. I think that
I like Embiid more.
Yeah, I mean,
I just feel like he's more about winning than Ben
it's just
is.
When's the last time, and maybe I'm not thinking of off the top of my head, and it's going to be clip of the week kind of thing, but when's the last time we saw a team with their best player as a center win a championship?
Well, I mean, we're necessarily talking about Milwaukee. Milwaukee hasn't won yet, but like Giannis, yeah, they can say he's a 3, but he's also, he's in there like a 5 and pushing the 5 out to the perimeter, and he's in there like he's playing like a 5 because he can't play like a true 3.
Right, but they didn't win a championship. It was they were able to bottle him up, and that's going to be an interesting thing going into.
That's why he's also not better than Durant too, by the way. Like that's asinine.
Yeah, and I'm just my whole argument with that was that Durant at his peak was in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation.
Yes.
And Giannis, you could say the same thing sometimes, but Durant could shoot threes. Durant could score.
Durant can shoot from anywhere.
He's like arguably the best scorer of all time.
Yeah, on top of being a 7-footer.
Right.
That's just and I understand where Giannis is, but it's when people jump on the hype with Giannis, like, because you've had a couple good years. Like, say what you want about the move, but as a career whole, like, Durant has just been, and we'll see. Like I said, I feel like he's gonna be fine after missing a year of basketball. I think that that we'll see more on him down the road.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see the Bucks in the playoffs too, because nothing has changed from last year, and that's good in the sense that they're still winning all these games.
Years ago.
Right. Yeah, it was a while ago. Yeah, I think he's more of
he was a forward.
It was a while ago.
Because what's his face was center for that team. The last one they won was
And also, you can say Embiid's a center because of his size and everything, but the way they use him, and I haven't watched since Ben Simmons has been out. I don't know if you could answer this stretch, but is he still standing like at the top of the key or like at the elbow and like trying to get like mid-range and 3-point shots? Like, he needs to be in the paint for most of the game. I know he can shoot threes, but what's the use of being 7 feet if you're only going to shoot threes? Like, you're going to wind up being
Brook Lopez.
Like that's
like,
you're Embiid because of what you can do in the post, and it's nice if they have to come out and respect your range. But when
it's nice to have in your arsenal, like you're saying.
I see offensive sets where he just stands up there the whole time, and I'm like, okay, so Ben Simmons needs the lane open, and you're taking Embiid out of like his best thing that he can do. So I'll watch and see because I haven't seen him in the last couple games.
I know that more talk right now is a lot of people are the chatter in Brooklyn starting, and the one thing that I hate about media when it comes to Kyrie Irving is they've hated Kyrie.
Okay, we can get William Stretcher getting ready right now. I mean,
they've hated Kyrie since his dislove for LeBron, and I get that because, like I said, the media will do anything to keep LeBron around because that is the cash cow in the NBA. You want LeBron, no matter what Giannis does right now. If LeBron says whatever comment he wants to say, they're going to focus in on LeBron. That's the kind of power he has with NBA media. So when you speak against them, there's a reason not a lot of guys that do it still have great careers.
Giannis really doesn't talk at all.
Well, I'm just saying, Giannis could put up 55 tonight, but if LeBron has a triple-double, his triple-double will be blown up more than the 55. It just will. It's just his power on the NBA media because he is the NBA right now.
That's more of a thing against like the media. I know what you're saying.
But that's all I'm talking about. I'm just talking about media.
It is funny because like people who watch NBA and stuff know about Giannis, but if you ask some people, I guess, who are like LeBron is a household name. People are going to watch his kid play in high school games. People watch him play in high school games.
Because he has to do an antic every time he's on the sideline watching his kid. That's why.
Well, I mean,
he's always doing whatever antic to make something about him.
Someone threw garbage at his kid on the court. That's not really his fault.
Well, he's also out there, like he'll do a dunk contest with high schoolers, but God forbid he has to do it in the NBA. Just throwing it out there.
That's kind of cool. I mean, come on, like if your dad is LeBron.
I don't care if you're. No, I don't care. I don't care if LeBron's dunking. No, why don't you do a dunk competition at any point in your career, please?
I agree with that, but it's not cool.
One time.
It's not cool for those kids. Like,
no, go to pregame. You'll see him do it in pregame.
I know. I like to watch. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I used to go to Nets games earlier so we can watch Vince Carter do it. But like, he still would participate in a dunk competition though. Like,
I agree. He should have done.
Did he have to do it again?
He should have done a dunk contest. LeBron should have.
Years ago, yes. At least one time. That's a lot of asking, man. It's just he's an antic guy.
And I think you'd hate it too, because if he did it now, I bet you he'd win.
Well, yeah, because some G League guy would come in second. I don't know. I'd rather him win now than Dennis Smith Jr. going there again. To be honest with you.
I wonder if guys like John Morant are going to start doing it. They need to offer like bigger. Like
just offer $1 million or something. Then he has $1 million to offer.
But that's what
500,000.
Who was saying that? Was the Stretch saying that about like the tournament where in the midseason tournament they offered $1 million to the winner?
Yes.
Do you think James Harden's getting off his couch for $1 million?
No, man. Come on.
He's gonna go 0 for 20 from 3, and they're gonna lose by 2 points.
A strip club will pay him to finish off a playoff game series a little early so he can come in early, man.
He'd pay $1 million to take the week off and not be in the tournament.
Yes, dude. But like, dude, my take on that was.
Does Kyrie have CTEs?
But why would he have that's my thing with Kyrie.
I think he's saying like what's wrong with him, like
there's nothing wrong with him. What he said, but people here's the thing.
You have to agree, as a Nets fan, that's the only reason why you like Kyrie right now.
No, I like Kyrie a lot. I've liked Kyrie for a long time.
I haven't met a lot of people who like Kyrie. I mean,
Kyrie is Kyrie.
I think his game is good and everything like that, but it hasn't been proven that he can win without LeBron on the team or like by himself.
It hasn't been proven that LeBron can win without him either, though. So
he won in Miami.
Yeah, with Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, yeah, like he did. He won without him.
Right, but he
was also what made him come back to Cleveland.
He's won with other people. And
Hall of Famers, he has, definitely. So, like, with that being said, like, don't act like LeBron. LeBron hasn't won a goddamn thing by himself, number one. Let's stop.
Nobody wins anything by themselves.
So that's where I'm stopping it. That's where I'm stopping it, though. Like, because you just said Kyrie has not won anything without LeBron by himself. He's out there with who right now? LeVert. He's out there with who else?
Hey, take it easy on my guy LeVert.
I'm just saying, man. Like,
no, they don't have a lot of great players out there. But he's also not out there. He hasn't been playing.
But that's my thing though. When he said, and this is what I was getting to with the media takes everything he says and like really distorts it. It's like what he was saying is he listed the Nets core. That is the Nets core. Kevin Durant, DeAndre Jordan, Jared Allen, LeVert, Dinwiddie, and him. Those 6 guys are the core. He said we're getting stuff for next year.
A lot of those guys I don't think will be there next year. I think Dinwiddie will definitely be there. I mean,
Dinwiddie's got a 3-year contract. DeAndre's got a 3-year contract.
You still want DeAndre Jordan there, though, next year? I mean,
off of, like, for the fact that if we keep him, he's just been hurt.
Yeah.
But it's also this, like I said, this is a year that I said with Kyrie earlier this year, too, that it could go one or two ways. It can go really well with Kyrie, or he's going to miss a lot of the year because we're getting ready for the next 3 seasons versus this season.
That's my whole thing with him is, like, people will, and I'm not saying you in particular, but if you complain about players, like, doing back-to-back rest and stuff like that. But Kyrie, I don't want to, like, question anybody's injury or anything like that, but is it even slightly possible that maybe he just doesn't want to play? And I kind of feel like
play till Durant.
I kind of feel like this about Steph too. Like if Steph wanted to, if it was a playoff game, would he play? And I kind of feel like these guys are just, and maybe it's smart for the Warriors and maybe for the Nets. But the Nets are gonna, where are they in the standings right now?
I think they're 7th or 8th. They're low down
so I mean,
there.
at least for the Warriors, they're gonna possibly get a good draft pick out of it. But the Nets, I mean, if Kyrie came back, maybe they could make it to like the 5 seed or 4 seed. I don't know. The East is not like great right now or anything
But that's my thing. It's like people are really coming on. I'm getting the exact standings right here. But people are coming on him and just saying, this and that. But it's like when he listed the core of the Nets, that is the core. Yes, like that's our core. LeVert's part of our core. Hence why we gave an extension. Dinwiddie got an extension. We signed Durant, DeAndre, and him. And then Jared Allen's a young guy that's a very good defensive center. That's a core. He did nothing wrong by listing the core. If you're not in the listing, get better. That's what it is. That's who he went after.
Then if they get better, he could just say that it was because of him. He motivated them.
But
that's the Stephen A. move or the skip move.
But the thing is, who here has talked about guys like Joe Harris for a long time? Or
he was known last year. I mean, he did the 3-point contest, but he was, decent shooter.
But nobody's defending if you don't like Joe Harris on your team. No one's defending that. Like
I'm
that's
just
my thing.
Saying if he's, I just feel like maybe he should be playing right now, and that he's just kind of like being a diva, and he doesn't want to play without Durant there.
And I see it, but here's the thing: I do see why, because he's like, and this is where when we talked about if he would miss time, like. Yeah, whatever injury they may shut him down because they're like, if we make it as a 7 or 8 seed, we're still in the playoffs. We don't have our guys, but it is what it is. We're preparing for the next year. There's a reason why Durant came out, and he's sometimes shooting threes. He's doing activity, but they're shutting it down. Like our GM already said, he's not playing this year. It's not going to happen.
Well, that's the smart thing to do, I think. And I mean, if you're going to do that, then just do it with Kyrie too. Because also, and it's not as much of like a one type of injury thing, but Kyrie for his whole career, I think the most games he's ever played in the season is like 70 something. He's never played a full season. He's not particularly old.
No.
So I mean, you have to wonder if guys at some point are just injury prone. And as a Nets fan, you have to be worried about that with a 7-footer coming off of an Achilles injury, and then a guy who's never really been healthy for a full season. But I mean, it's a move you have to do. If Kevin Durant wants to come to your team, you have to do it.
And it's like the move I said. I wanted Russell I want Russell obviously more than Kyrie. But the difference is, Kevin Durant doesn't want to play D'Angelo Russell. He wants to play Kyrie Irving.
And if that's how you get Durant, then that's
that's just what it is. And it's like you're losing Russell to get Kyrie. You're downgrading, maybe. Are you upgrading? Maybe not. It's like you're kind of like still within the.
It's weird. Like I mean, why would Durant want Kyrie as like that guy that he wants to play?
Those two like each other, and they're both similar.
They're like millennials, I guess.
They both care about what people think about them. They're both a little overly dramatic.
Talk to each other about it.
Yeah, no. Honestly, if there's two guys you want on a team that have like the mentality of these two, you want these guys talking to each other.
I'm excited to see it, but
it's gonna be a while.
Yeah.
And
Is he supposed to be healthy for the beginning of next season?
Who?
Durant? Because that would have been more than a year, right?
They said that it's gonna be He was coming out saying he thinks he can make a playoff if they played in the playoffs this year.
I don't think that
and the team shut that down.
Yeah, that would be dumb.
Because it'd be. But the thing is, it's an 8-month injury.
What, are you gonna do the same thing you just did with the Warriors and hurt yourself again, and then be out for the rest of your career? Because Achilles used to be like a career-ending injury for a lot of people. For some reason, this is popping into my head was like Takeo Spikes, which is like a super. But I remember it was in Madden. And he was in Madden the next year with like the Achilles injury. I'm like, well, I'm not drafting him in my fantasy draft or whatever it was. I used to love doing those drafts in Madden. It was
Buffalo Bills, right?
Yeah, it's a random name, but that's who I remember.
I know things that I should not know. And I don't know things I should know. But no, but like that's I don't know. My stigma's always been the media with him. They killed him for the Boston stuff. Like, look how much better Boston is. I'm like,
well, for the Boston thing, like he was saying, this guy.
This year's karma for Durant. Jesus Christ.
No, that's dumb. But
he'd be the best player on the Heat if he was playing without that injury. So it's like, come on.
Timothy said Kyrie had an issue with every team he's been on. I mean, that's kind of true. If it starts next season and they go like 8-8 for some reason, then
if it happens next year with Durant, then
you'll finally. Well, then it's on your team too, so you'll be more inclined to.
I'll buy into just because if you really have an issue with Durant, like you can leave. We're keeping Durant, and you can still find someone in. But when you're really talking about like with Boston, okay, wouldn't you be annoyed too if you just like were part of a championship-winning team, and you have guys like Rozier, Jaylen Brown, and what's his face, and Gordon Hayward.
Tatum.
And Tatum wasn't really nearly as the issue. They were saying Gordon Hayward's getting a lot of plays going his way when he's not half the athlete he is. And then they really are though. But you look at Tatum was a young star, they knew that. But Rozier was not like this guy. We see it. What's he doing in Charlotte? Nothing.
Well, everybody laughed at that contract when Rozier got
But that's the thing. Rozier was complaining about not getting enough minutes and he should be getting more time and should be playing more.
Well, you see that the Celtics let him walk.
Jaylen Brown was speaking on Rozier by trying to get Rozier in more than Irving was. Like, there's a reason why he was upset. There's a reason why Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, and Al Horford weren't fighting with Kyrie Irving.
I think what these guys are saying on the chat, too, is you have to take some substance with the fact that maybe he is like mentally weak or like emotionally weak in a sense that
him and Durant both are.
In a sense, more for Kyrie, and I do agree with the Durant thing. Like, you're a millionaire however many times over, and you're a champion now, and you're allowing the same people who and I think that has a big thing to do. And I'm just like guessing, but I think that's a big thing to do with why he left OKC. He thought that once he got and he just was short-sighted in the fact that he thought if he got a championship, then people would stop. Like when LeBron left, got the championship, people were kind of like off his case a little bit. And that didn't happen, and he just wasn't able to see that you go 7 games with somebody, you leave, and then you go to that. He could have gone to any other team and won a championship.
That's the thing. See, that's the thing. If he goes to the Spurs, nobody kills his move. But they didn't lose to Spurs. But we all know that if he goes to Spurs, not only won Finals MVP those 2 years again.
Nobody's killing Kawhi for anything he's doing right now, really.
Yeah.
Nobody killed him. He got traded technically to Toronto, but he was never going to come back there.
Him going to Golden State, but that's also people kill Golden State for. But I'm like, Golden State is one of the first super teams to really build it through the draft. When we're talking about, they did draft Draymond. They did draft.
Draymond was like a second rounder?
Yeah, they did draft Clay. They did draft Steph. They did draft Harrison Barnes. They did draft Festus Ezeli, guys who got extensions that did nothing when they left. McGee. They found, not draft McGee, but they brought in McGee and made guys that like. there's just the whole thing with the Durant, and I'm not defending how, like, they are a mentally weak team. Hell, him going to Brooklyn almost shows you that Durant's like, yeah, I want to kind of prove I can win on a team somewhere else or an organization that doesn't see winning. Because if he goes to the Bulls, that almost makes more sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a story behind the Bulls. If he goes to the Heat,
anywhere would have made more sense.
Yeah, it makes more sense
so
for Durant to be in Miami right now than it would be over there.
I would have rather him have gone to the Knicks at least, and then he could have had like the whole thing when it didn't work out.
No, dude, no, you don't need. No, do not send guys like him to the Knicks.
Why not? I think I don't know. It's time for the Knicks. They've had enough suffering, right?
I think the Golden State will. I don't know. Golden State. I mean, they should have a little comeback next year, but I think that core is going to get kind of traded out.
The only thing too about this year's draft is there's not like that number one guy. I mean, you have James Wiseman, but the Warriors are the Warriors going to draft a center if they get the first? I don't even think the Warriors have like that.
I think the Warriors might, because here's the thing: the Warriors may come in and they. I think that the big thing that could happen in the Warriors is you could see Devin Booker, Cat, and D'Angelo Russell on the same team. And that's going to have to do with some giving away of some older guys. And older guys, I'm meaning like...
Are you saying on Minnesota?
No, I'm saying that for Golden State. Golden State's looking, I think, to revamp and renew their little dynasty. And I understand what's going on. People are killing the fact that, like, Clay may not be there next year, I don't think. I don't
think he's going to take... I mean, he would get big money somewhere else. I mean, it's like Achilles... Talking about how
ACL.
About how Achilles used to be like a death sentence for a career. ACL now is just like 8 months.
Oh
in
yeah,
the back.
dude. It's ACL is just it's like a. I mean, you got guys that come back within and they're playing, if not better than what they were.
It's almost like
before.
Tommy John, like just get it out of the way.
It's like you're gonna have to get it, but when you look at them, I mean, like you could see Klay Thompson and some people, and maybe the number one pick going for Devin Booker, and you bring him over there.
So you think if the Warriors got the number one pick, they'd be more likely to trade?
I think they can trade it more than they would do anything else. But I also, like I said, I look at this Warriors team and the nucleus that's going around that everyone's talking about, the next like trio to kind of get together.
But I don't think Cat is a free agent though. Cat is locked up for a long time in Minnesota.
But Cat's also consistently complaining about Minnesota. Like,
well, then why did you sign such a big long-term extension?
Because why wouldn't you in the NBA? You know you're going to get fully guaranteed. And you know
if I'm Minnesota, then why would I ever trade him?
Well, it's because like
somebody has to eventually stand up and say no. You're under contract.
It's not the NFL. Players in the NBA can almost choose where they want to go when they want to go there.
Not if you're under contract for like 5 more years.
They still do it.
But at some point, there has to be a breaking point where some team says, no, I'm sorry, you signed a contract here, you're going to have to...
But this is where the NBA is ahead of on other leagues, where if you don't want to play for your team, no matter your contract, you can give a team a list of teams you want to play for, and they'll go look at those teams. Versus the NFL, if you don't like where you're going, you'll be the Miami Dolphins will say, like the Miami, go ahead and go to Cleveland.
I don't like
Jarvis.
this. As a Pistons fan, I don't like this.
I know you don't.
We're never going to get anybody ever again.
Because nobody wants to live in Detroit, man.
And then, okay, but you can live wherever you want.
Just have the Pistons like move to, I don't know, man. Like, just have them move to like the Lake Erie or something. I don't know. Like,
we used to play in like they call it Palace of Auburn Hills.
Auburn Palace, man.
It was the Palace of Auburn Hills, and Auburn Hills is one of the richest neighborhoods in America. And then all surrounded around it is not good neighborhoods.
But I mean, that's where the NBA is ahead on the NFL.
No, so pretend if Cat was on Detroit and he signs this big contract extension.
Yeah.
I would prefer him just to sit there. He's not going to sit out for 5 seasons.
No, he won't. He won't.
You have to just play, and if you're not happy, well, too bad. Like, you don't just get to. Not everyone gets to play in LA or Miami or New York. Like, there's other franchises, and eventually, I don't know if it's like a collusion thing or whatever, but they have to be like, we can't just like keep letting. I think Giannis is going to be one of the first big guys. I think he's going to stay in Milwaukee. Like everything that you hear about him.
I think it's even though I do think that they say the Knicks are circling in on that one right there, and so are the Heat. Those two teams are really circling in. I see Milwaukee being a team that he may want to stick in and keep playing in, because just for a loyalty reason, and we also don't know, man. Like I said, them firing Jason Kidd could bite them in the ass at the end of the day too.
So yeah, Golden State actually does have the worst record right now. So if they
by a bit, don't they?
No, they're pretty close with they're close to
the Hawks.
They're 10-35. The Hawks are 10-34.
Oh, okay, yeah, man. I'm gonna.
The Knicks, of course, are down there with 12. Cleveland's down there.
Freaking NYC.
Yeah.
Talk about Portland, man. Do you think they're making the playoffs?
Portland?
Yeah.
I was watching the game, I think it was last night, and I think Lillard had like 50, or no, he had 60 or something like that. Yeah. They wound up winning. They went to overtime. I think over the course of a season, the talent should win out. I think it's not good that the Whiteside thing's still going on. And I think you can really start to make predictions about the playoffs and everything after the trade deadline.
Yeah.
because like a lot of the teams aren't now what they're going to be in a little while.
Like
I don't know who
the Celtics going to end up getting Andre Drummond.
Well, I want Drummond out, and I want Reggie Jackson out. I mean, just some of the guys, like who's going to take Drummond in that contract though? Because
he could decline the player option.
Well, he could be a free agent after this year.
So it's like you could get in. It's like a team, like I said, the team that needs a center the most. That's a contending team right now. They're saying is Boston, because obviously them losing Horford is got them a little weaker. Enos Cantor, say what you want about him. Like if the game ever goes to Canada, he won't play in it.
I wouldn't mind if we even got rid of Blake Griffin, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, when he got there, I was like, okay, I understand the move. It was kind of messed up for what the Clippers did to Blake Griffin in the way they said, if you sign the extension, we won't trade you.
Yeah, and then they traded him.
And they traded him immediately. But for like a team like Detroit's never going to get a guy like that in free agency for the most part, unless somehow the next LeBron is born in Detroit and he wants to come home. But barring that, I was happy to, like, people were like, oh, he has the injury history. And I'm like, you have to try something. If you can get a guy like that, you have to try it. So I wouldn't mind if we moved on from that for now, just because the money is so much over the next couple of years. But guys like Blake Griffin and with his health concerns.
Isn't he out for the year again?
I don't know if they said he's out for the year or not. I honestly have watched like as few Pistons games as I've ever watched, because why would I do that? But Drummond, it's like he's playing in a different kind of league now. And there was a time when we were choosing between Greg Monroe and Andre Drummond, and it seemed like a choice. Yeah. And now there's a time when it's like, how are we even thinking about Drummond over for a long-term contract too? Like, it's changed that fast to where, look at that, that's why I'm saying about the Hassan Whiteside thing with Portland. It's like a concern that he's getting like major minutes. Yeah. Like clearly the Heat wanted to get rid of him really bad, and then as soon as they did, it's like addition by subtraction that they got that much better.
And it's like, you know, another guy who may be on the move too is Steven Adams. A lot of people are going to be talking about Adams the next couple of weeks in Oklahoma City. But Oklahoma City's not out of it. So it's like they may want to keep Adams, but teams are reaching out for Adams. You know, like I said. Chase
said the Heat need a center, and I think Steven Adams is a different kind of center. He's like Andre Drummond.
He would work great for the Heat, especially in like
it's just there's
playing your role.
When you're talking about centers nowadays, there's such different types of centers. Like Andre Drummond is a completely different type of center than Steven Adams is. And I mean that in the best possible way for Steven Adams is I would much rather have him than Andre Drummond. But I think OKC, it's going to be...
He's just tougher.
It's going to be interesting to see at this point what teams are buyers and what teams are sellers, because I think OKC might try to make a run. I mean, I don't think anyone thinks they can win a championship.
No, if they do, Jesus Christ.
Right, but I mean, at some point you can't just sell if you're going to be like a 5 or a 6 seed.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, when you
can't justify that to your fan base, especially everything that happened with after Durant left, and then after Westbrook left, Paul George left. Now you have these good young guys. You can't trade like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Big Bizback Biombo fan though over there in Miami. Biombo, man, coming out of Kentucky. He was a fun one there. I think, and also just watching him play.
Adebayo?
Yeah, man. Sorry, not Biombo. Yeah, not Biombo. Sorry, Adebayo. Bam Adebayo. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm excited for Dallas and the Clippers tonight. I'm sure either Paul George or Kawhi will sit out, because I feel like I've never gotten to see them play together all season.
And that's another people are just, and it's a new era of where we're coming to, and this has been all talks on everything, but like, guys are resting, guys are doing this. Like, LeBron will say, well, no, LeBron, you're not resting now. You had your rest days earlier in your career, but he's not resting now because his end of the career is coming.
Well, people were talking too, was it last year or 2 years ago, and they're like writing glowing articles about LeBron found a way to rest while he's on the court. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, it's called not playing defense.
Yes, yeah,
it's like people killed James Harden for it.
Yes, there are guys
that goes back to your media thing, and I understand they did like a thing where it's like distance and average speed, and it's like he would walk back. Yeah. Like, well, aren't you supposed to run back?
Yeah, it's almost like he found a way to keep himself preserved.
Yeah,
while
James
still
Harden found it a couple years ago, and then YouTube shamed him into playing defense again.
You know how many players that have already discovered this way? This is a thing. And even last year, LeBron was resting. They were still
yeah, Paul George is sitting out tonight.
Is he? Great.
I complain about it now, but once it comes to playoff time, I'll be happy that they're both going to be playing.
It's just basketball's long. It's not and we're so
I just selfishly I want to watch them play together.
Yeah, of course. When you see a matchup, especially this matchup coming in,
he said LeBron wants another MVP. I think more so. I mean, if you look at the way he's leading the league in assists, I think if he still is, he was a little while ago. I think he wants more for Anthony Davis to win the MVP.
I think,
yeah. There's people who think that Anthony, and I'm not one of them, but people who think that Anthony Davis might possibly look to move to a different team. I don't think you go through all that with the Pelicans and then come to LA and then it's not gonna be like a Dwight Howard thing.
I mean, he's made clear in his career multiple times he wants Chicago, especially the Bulls, to be back to being like what basketball was. And Chicago is a homestead for a lot of NBA players now too. It's where these guys come from, and he's from there as well. And if there's anyone that proves that they're like,
I can see a possibility where if they won the championship this year, maybe. But you can't do all that with the Pelicans and then go to LA and then not re-sign there for like. I think he'll do if he's smart like LeBron, he'll do the. No, but I think he would want Anthony Davis to win the MVP and kind of like campaign and help him to get it.
I think
so that way he could have more of a chance of staying.
He's trying to do everything he can, like you said, I think, to keep him sane by like just making him feel as special as possible. Just let's say in a nice way, like he's just trying to make him feel like as appreciated in LA and really trying to push him to be kind of the person in LA people need to cheer for, this and that. Like he's really trying to, like you said, market and publicize that he wants him sticking around, and this is the way to do it, kind of, But it also, like I said, I don't know if Anthony Davis has the same kind of endeavors when it comes to like his media likeness or his own personal brand, like LeBron does, going to LA.
Well, I mean, I think that's a little bit more overblown now especially than it used to be. I mean, people don't talk about Giannis as much like in the media, but he still gets endorsements and he has his own shoe and all this other kind of stuff. Like a lot of these guys who are superstars make more money off the court than they make on the court.
Especially in basketball. Especially
in basketball. Especially like you can make the case that LeBron and all these other guys are actually like underpaid because if there wasn't a salary, like if it was like baseball, how much money do you think Giannis? Then I guarantee you he would be going to the Knicks then. But in the fact that he can sign like the Supermax and all that kind of stuff, that's why it was created for a lot of these guys to stay in some of these smaller market teams.
So that way they have an advantage over their bigger markets. I don't know, man. I
He's
would be
coming into his own socially. I don't even know what that means. That's like a.
Well, that's the thing. Anthony Davis wasn't a big talker or anything. I mean, his way of coming in the league and having his own image was a freaking unibrow.
Yeah, it's. I like that he embraced it at least though. He should have got like a Gillette sponsorship or something.
I don't know,
at least.
man. Just like. It's a unibrow. It's not even cool.
I can't believe we talked this long about the NBA and we haven't talked about Zion playing tomorrow
I know, he is. He's going to play tomorrow night, man. I'm wrong. I am wrong.
I'm excited about that.
I thought he was not going to play this year. Even though when we said that, the Pelicans had like the third worst record and they went on a little run of winning like 6-7 games.
They had lost like 13 in a row, and then they almost were going to fire, was it Gentry?
Yeah.
And then they won like 6 or 7 in a row.
That did happen. I thought that it was just coming down. Like it just painted an image, and I think us seeing Zion play against the Spurs is.
Yeah, right now they're 2 games out of the playoffs. New Orleans is, which is crazy because you go all the way down to. Oh no, I'm sorry, they're 3.5 out of the playoffs, but. I mean, the West is still pretty loaded. Like Minnesota's the 3rd worst team in the West right now, and they still have a chance to make the playoffs.
Oh man, that's gonna be a ESPN did pick that game up.
Well, I mean, they deserve it. I mean, people want to talk about basketball ratings being down this year, and it's because they put the Pelicans on every single primetime game.
Yeah.
And then Zion got hurt, and it's like, well, I don't want to watch Lonzo Ball all that.
No, we already went through that with the Lakers last year. Like we already had to watch that. But I am saying I love watching Brandon Ingram play.
I was just going to say the same thing. And I don't know if I have this anywhere on record on the podcast, but I was a Brandon Ingram fan even in LA.
Yeah.
I thought the biggest part
the issue.
I thought the biggest piece they gave up was Brandon Ingram.
Yes. Instead of holding on to Kuzma, they should have really, I thought, held on to Ingram. But
I would like to give New Orleans the credit though if they were like, no, we don't want Kuzma, we want Ingram. Like that could have been the case too. You don't know.
And yeah, it's just like Ingram, man. When you have a guy, and I think the problem was him being LA, and this happens that it's hard to be a third wheel in a duo. Historically, when it comes to with being LeBron, when you had your Chris Bosh, he was the third wheel to that Dwayne Wade and him duo. Kevin Love to the Kyrie Irving and him. It almost looks like Kuzma is like he's very talented, but he's the third wheel to the Anthony Davis and LeBron duo right there. And it's just not looking like it's gonna fit in well with him. I'm sure if he went to another team, like I could see someone wanting to come after him. Maybe they make a trade draft-wise, or they make a trade before the deadline for a player, because they were talking about they do want to pick up a 3-point shooter, or they do want to pick up another big key player they can have in the playoffs coming up. I think that what's his face? Derrick Rose coming to LA has been a big talk.
So he said that they did state publicly no deal without Brandon Ingram. So that was probably like the main guy that they wanted to trade, which makes sense. And now the Lakers are still talking about trading Kuzma too,
which Derrick Rose is someone that they've talked about by bringing Derrick Rose over there.
A couple of other guys that they were talking about, like whoever gets Iguodala, it's going to be like a big victory whether he gets bought out. But I think if they're smart, I mean, when you hear so many people talk about him getting bought out, and you're like, well, if there's that much interest in him, why don't we just wait to trade him?
Yes.
So I think Iguodala will end up getting traded more than likely.
But even Iguodala getting bought, like, I don't know, like, everyone's loving this Iguodala thing, but, like, he's not the same player he was 3 years ago. Even last year, he wasn't the same player.
Even with Golden State, in his last year,
last year he was not. Like, so there's a lot of just, you know, resume that they're going after, and I don't think that's a team. Like, maybe if he goes to the Lakers, because he's a great bench player for them or whatever. But I don't see him going to a team, you know, and just being like this immediate game changer, to say the least. Like, that's kind of gone.
There's another guy that I was thinking of that was talking about getting traded, and it doesn't really help because they can't give you any clues.
Probably Bradley Beal.
No, it was like a lesser known guy. He has like a weird name.
Oh no, I know. Yes, it's because he's been in talks to Lakers as well.
It's not Bellica, it's not Biedron. Some weird name like you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, because he's been in talks with LA as well.
Maybe Timothy can comment it in. There's some guy who was going to get. Either was going to the Lakers or the Clippers or something like that.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, and I cannot. I remember seeing an article on it the other day, too. Before, you know...
It's like a weird foreign guy. It's like a good scoring guard.
Yes. Oh, my Lord, I cannot think of it off the top of my head. It's going to kill me. Not as much as it's going to kill me as someone didn't...
I can't remember even.
It's not going to kill me as much as someone voting Derek Jeter not on the Hall of Fame today.
Yeah,
Barry Bonds, 60% though. We're getting there, Bonds. You're getting there.
He'll probably get in, I bet you.
Yeah, probably at the very last ballot, just kind of shove it in his face kind of thing. I think that's something that, like, baseball's very kind of doing. It's very Terrell Own-ish.
You had to be out at 8, right? Or
Yeah.
Well, the only reason that Derek Jeter didn't get the unanimous vote is because he's not in Bundesliga, so.
That's ridiculous.
He'll remember that next time. Thank you,
podcast?
guys. Who the fuck am I thinking of? What's that name? I think it starts with a B. I know it's a foreign guy, and he's a shooting guard.
Very,
Yeah.